Chit. Oh, Chit, what is going on, Chatamaran? Hello. Hello, out of focus camera. How are you? How's everybody doing this fine Tuesday evening? Turn the music down. Welcome back to another Therapy Thursday on the Kilted Pork channel. I am your host, in air quotes. For those that are passing through and don't know what Therapy Thursday is, every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, we get on here on Twitch, and I'm joined by my sister Asteria, who is a licensed family and marriage therapist, family and marriage and substance abuse therapist. She's got all sorts of qualifications, but she's a professional therapist. All right, that's what it comes down to. And basically, we invite anybody passing through, if they have any mental health questions, to drop their questions in chat, and we can essentially discuss what your question is or what may be bothering you, and try to give you some insight on different mental health things, or possibly help you feel better, stuff like that. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Let's see, I'm gonna try to get this freaking camera to zone out. Sorry if you see my fat fingers. Oh, that's so much better. See? It just doesn't like autofocus sometimes. So that being said, let's get her in here. I don't really have the energy to do anything weird today. Hello?
You sound like a cow.
Meh. Does that work?
That was sheep.
No, that was a cow. Wait, hold on. Meh.
There you go.
There we go. It goes from meh, pretty much the same shit.
That just sounds like a really sad night in bed. But anyway, how are you?
What? You what?
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like two people not having a good time.
I said what I said. Sometimes you could have a bad night on your own. Aim for the stars.
I don't know, man. I feel like after 5 minutes of hearing that, you're going to hear the phrase, get off. Like very soon
Or
after.
I was sleeping.
I was sleeping. Stop that. I have a mammogram in the morning.
I'm so bugged. So anyway, how are you?
I'm tired. I'm really tired, and I've had a week, so. And
I think it's that season right now.
Oh yeah, the seasonal depression, as everyone calls it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because as much as people are can get all holly jolly about this time of year, I'm like, the amount of money spent for gifts for some folks, the amount of stress, how people fucking lose their goddamn mind in the holidays, families, period, resources and whatnot. It's wild out here.
Yeah, you give me anxiety when you say the word family.
Oh man, I got an update for you, but let's do the thing first.
All right, do your thing.
Hi everyone, my name's Asteria. I am a marriage and family therapist that works under the legislation of California. That's important. My background that I work in is in trauma specifically, but I also have I have a background of also working with depression, anxiety, personality disorders, and substance use diagnoses, and dissociative disorders. I like to use this place to chat with Kilted and guests about mental health, because I know that resources are expensive and they're hard to come by. So what I feel like is something to help is by having Therapy Thursday, where we talk about various topics related to mental health, where you can go ahead and bring in your general questions or questions about diagnoses, but I will not engage in diagnosing. So if you think that your mom is narcissistic,
She
listen.
probably is.
She probably is. Like, let's just get
Yay!
to the point. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Um.
we already have a simple question. Combo's here. Hello, Combo. Good evening.
Hi,
Um,
combo.
he's asking, aren't suicide rates higher this time of year? Do you have any
Well,
statistics on that?
well, I don't have any statistic like numbers in the back of my like right to jump, you know, to kind of throw out there. I definitely know that there can be a significant increase as a result of these types of or these times of years due to a plethora of different reasons. But I'll definitely say that oh my gosh, I'll definitely say that that there can be a significant increase in suicide in the most popular places that suicide happens in the world.
What's the most popular place?
Well, the top
The
two.
state of depression?
Well, in I can say and speak on behalf.
It took you a minute.
I was like, sorry, I'm slow because of the depression. So, um, no, the top two most like romanticized and high volume suicide
Oh, can I
locations
take a guess?
in the United States. Yeah, go ahead and take a guess.
Okay,
Just,
one of them wasn't the United States, but I was going to say Paris, and then the other one's got to be Hawaii.
oh, I don't know about the world. Like that's not knowledge off the top of my head, but you could definitely just look that up. Actually, I'll just look it up because it's something to kind of keep in the back in the old back pocket. Let's see. Most
Exactly,
popular
Combo.
places in the world to commit suicide. Watch, they're gonna freaking the first thing is gonna be like, get help.
I
Like,
know, right? Get help and the San Francisco Bridge. The Golden Gate Bridge.
Let's see. Right. Oh.
Isn't
Wait.
there the Suicide Forest or something like that in Hapan?
So number one is the is
Combo
in
says,
Japan.
oh, okay. That's number one, you said?
Yeah.
Combo said he wants her Sweden.
The number one it says is it's in on Mount Fuji in Japan.
Really? I wonder if it's that forest.
I'm not even gonna try. It's a forest. It's probably that forest, but I'm not gonna try to say this proper term for it because I just don't want to say it incorrectly. But it says it's also known as the Sea of Trees, because it's described to be haunted by angry spirits.
That's probably it.
It says by 2003, the suicide rate is said to have reached as high as 100 a year.
Wow.
And in 2010, according to the Japanese Times, 247 people tried to kill themselves. 54 were successful. So, there's
That's
that.
only a 25% success rate.
Huh?
Wait, did you say 200 tried, 50 succeeded?
247 people tried, 54 were successful.
Oh, so a little bit over. So it was like 28% success rate.
The second place is the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, damn! Did I not call it?
The next place is in China. Again, I don't want to mess up this term. But it's in.
What, are you gonna offend somebody?
I just don't want to say it incorrectly. Nanjing. River Bridge.
Bridges seem to be popular.
They do the job. That's why.
I don't know. A vertical cliff onto some rocks
actually-
is a pretty more efficient way.
Actually, I have a comment or to kind of follow up on that, but
I'm not
Let me go, 'cause
encouraging
they got
people.
the
I'm not giving people ideas.
yeah, this isn't to be encouraged. This is purely educational. Because I think it's important because sometimes these places are places that we live close to, and we may just be oblivious that this is what's happening around us. And it kind of shows of how taboo this type of conversation and this topic just kind of goes unnoticed. So the next place is called The Gap. It's in Sydney, Australia.
So not the store inside the mall.
Yeah, it's the Gap. It's because of their sales. Anyway,
I hate
the
working
next,
here.
the next is Niagara Falls.
Oh, okay, that one makes sense.
The next is Beachy Head, which is in East Sussex in
Sussex?
England. Thank you. The next is the Westgate Bridge in Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne? Alright. I think I know which one that is.
Melbourne, Victoria. It says. The next is Sunshine Skyway Bridge, which is in Tampa Bay, Florida.
I've been on that bridge. Not very high. I don't know how people are doing that.
The next one is Humber Bridge, which is in East Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire in England.
Lincolnshire.
And the last one is Coronado Bridge.
No shit.
In San Diego Bay, California.
Wow.
So
man, that's a big ass bridge. Been on that bridge too, and the Golden Gate Bridge. I've been on a lot of those bridges.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. Is like you just see this as like just a casual drive across, right? But this is like the last destination for some folks. When I was in grad school, we had a class. Excuse me. We had a class where it was all dedicated to crises and like really intensive like situations and like really intense like exposure to like trauma themed concepts that we're gonna have to be exposed to in the field, and man was that an understatement. So anyway, we had a topic related to suicide, and then we watched a documentary. I don't know if you ever watched it. It's called The Bridge.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, combo. There's 2 bridges in California in that list. We got San Francisco and San Diego.
Yeah, so
and I've been on both of those, and the one in Florida, I've been on that bridge too.
is San Francisco Central? Technically, Central California?
No, I don't think so. It's northern.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of make sure.
They call it the Bay Area, so.
Yeah, that's what I kind of just consider it, but I'm like, anyway. The whole point.
Greetings, Hey Shaker.
The whole point of why I bring it up is because when I was watching it, because I know what you said, like that bridge isn't that very tall, right? And what that reminded me of is that in the documentary, The Bay, they were talking about somebody that had attempted to commit suicide there and were unsuccessful.
Yes, I remember them talking to that guy, and he said that once he jumped, he was like, shit, I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, he said he shouldn't have done this, but because of the whole, or like one of the important pieces that stood out to me, at least, of why he said that is because after you do that, you like lose all trust with everybody. So it's like he can't just do things anymore without people thinking he's gonna like do something.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like that's something that is important. And like the way that he survived, like people think it was like an act of their religious and
hoopla.
Backgrounds and so hoopla and everything. Because we're like, oh yeah, like why? Because again, for anyone on here that is unfamiliar with like the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, is that because, or like with it being located and like how tall it is, if you're not unfamiliar with what it's like if you like fall at a very high altitude or whatever the case may be onto water, you don't just go sploosh. It's like falling directly onto cement.
Yeah, unless you go in like a lawn dart. I mean, you gotta have some form.
Yeah, and anyway, and the water, and like, and if that doesn't get you, like the temperature of the water, or the fucking sharks.
Yeah, it said like temperature, the tide, and then sharks.
Yeah, well, apparently this dude that attempted to commit suicide and was not successful to doing this was like a seal went under this dude, and like he like went under him or the seal went under this dude and like gave him just enough to where like he could float above the water to still breathe, and then he was like found, and he made it, which is fucking ridiculous.
Crazy.
And now he like tours and talks about it and stuff like that from the last I heard. But anyway.
Combo says, I've heard that before. Most regret the decision immediately. I find that very interesting. Yes, it is very interesting.
It is quite interesting, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of taboo, and like this is something I genuinely talk about with my clients. Like when I do because again, for anyone that is unfamiliar with like doing therapy, or in, participating in getting clinical treatment, one of the things, at least in the state of California, because that's the only thing I can talk about, is that we have to provide to clients what is called informed consent, where you talk about like, hey, this is what HIPAA looks like. These are my limits to confidentiality. These are my barriers to confidentiality, which are two separate things. And one of the things they talk about is suicide. And I always try to tell my clients, it's like, especially because I work with a population of trauma, is that like, hey, like humans think about suicide, and it's much more common than we probably allowed to let on, because of like the discomfort that is like projected from society to talk about suicide. It's like, but like the thoughts surrounding it and like questions about it kind of go on, or like are just there. Like you can't, just because you think you don't talk about it or you avoid it, it doesn't happen. It's like the whole idea, and I don't care what you believe about this, so if you want to come at me sideways, I encourage you to continue going sideways and exit stage left.
Crab walk your way out of there.
Crab walk your way out of this one. In that,
Zoidberg.
like, it reminds me of the whole same concept of folks are like, oh, I'm not going to teach my child about sex because all it does is encourage it. I'm like, kids are gonna fuck. Like,
not in today's day and age.
Well,
apparently.
But children, like the curiosity surrounding like sexual like behavior and thoughts and stuff like that is something that happens even before like primary or secondary sexual characteristics show up in children. You're not, just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean that there won't be consequences. Like, and it's going to be one way or another. So I don't know, have a conversation. Like, that's what I would encourage. But anyway, you can't avoid it. It's something that we should talk about. And I think if we start to have more of an honest talk about it, we'd actually have more support surrounding it. Maybe I even have a prediction. Again, this is just a prediction, that they'd probably decrease decrease a lot of the records of it, like, or the of all that surrounding it and the cases of it. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on all of that. So going back to my informed consent, as I was starting this off on, that being said, because one of my protected classes, or because of my protected classes is, or one of them is, anyone that is considered a adolescent or a child, so anyone that is 17 and younger, I don't discuss suicide with them in here. Not because there's anything I can do, because unless you're my client, I can't keep to my mandates unless you're one of my clients. But ethically, I just don't feel like it's comfortable to talk about suicide with minors in here. So just FYI to anyone in here, that is my line. If you are a minor, I'm going to be like, we're not going to be talking about suicide here.
Boundaries. Gotcha.
So that's my whole little spiel. With that being said, unless there's any other questions coming up in the chat, how are you?
It's been a week, that's for sure.
Tell me about it.
Mentally, physically, and emotionally just drained. All of it. The lot. School, hard. Gym, exhausting. Being social, mentally just draining.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I am tired, Combo. Yeah, it's just trying to just deal with people. let me. It sounds like I'm saying I don't want to be near people. It's just trying to be social is tough. Because some people just don't want to be social, and then you're putting all this energy out there to try to be social, and then they're like, nah. Then I'm like, ugh. You know how it is. And I was actually complaining about that to Aggie yesterday. Yeah, today's Thursday. Yeah, so yesterday, because I was hanging out with her before she had to go to class, and I was like, look at this. You try to become friends with people around here, yet everyone that walks around this campus, everybody's got headphones in. Nobody wants to fucking talk. It's like how the hell are you supposed to communicate in today's day and age? Everyone's just in their own world.
To.
Exactly.
That's literally the whole point. I think we've talked about this before, is that the connection amongst folks, communication, and so forth is like, it has shifted. Like, it's a whole different experience. It's a whole different thing now. And it's like, you have to kind of like figure, like, but at the same time, it kind of gives me the whole concept of like, it gives you some insight of like, of the kind of communication styles that you may be exposed to with folks that are always listening to music in public settings. Like, I'm going to just speak on behalf of my own experience, because I don't got to be professional here. Fuck you. Is this, when I was at a place where I had a much more severe level of general anxiety, and one of them being when I was when I was at the stores, I would listen to music as my way of like keeping me grounded, but also like managing my experience of just getting into the store and getting out, right?
Yeah, I can see that at the store, because it's like, I don't want to be in the store.
But it also is saying like, hey, I'm only reserving my energy to get through this task, right?
Yeah.
It also is a reflection of like people managing their energy levels. But it also gives you insight of how they may be able to do that. If they are chronically, anytime that they're going places, constantly listening to music, it goes to show like how it kind of, at least from my perspective, of how comfortable they are in being in settings where they're kind of exposed to the vulnerability of being approached in public settings, or something suddenly happening. Because if like something crashes, something, an accident happens, that takes away energy. And how much they're trying to like also manage some level of control of just getting to A to B, and it being enjoyable in some way. It's a plethora of other reasons why. But again, to the point of like socializing, is like, it's the big sign of, I don't want to socialize.
Yeah, and Combo is saying, he says, yeah, that's a gym tactic to avoid conversation. I see it there all the time too. I mean, obviously, when I'm there, I have my headphones in. When I'm not working out with my buddy, which is basically, it's been this whole week because he's been sick. But it's just because like every time I work out without headphones, nobody talks to me anyway. So I'm like, whatever. I just want something to kind of get me some energy and push harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's just kind of goes to it, is like, I feel now more than ever, because of the amount of information and energy that is taken from us just on a day-to-day thing, between just between the energy it takes to manage our internal world, the energy it takes to manage the plethora of things that we need to take care of in our external world, just directly surrounding us, and then being exposed to the constant reminders of what's going on in the world around us, between here to the stars. It's like, if we were constantly exposed to that without some kind of break, like, the next thing that's going to break is our mind. I think that, I don't know if we said it in this discussion, or I think my gut's telling me it did, that we talked about this here, so I'm just going to say it. I think one time we talked about how the the rate of evolution has like surpassed um how or like is
Social
being
evolution
impact.
has outran like human evolution,
Yes,
or
and so it's like
technological advancements have gone faster than the human body or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and so our bodies are not accustomed to this severity and amount of energy that is being pulled out of us all of the time. Like it's just too much information. It's too much stimuli all the time, and it sucks because many times I also hear folks are like of like when people are trying to manage their stimuli by listening to music, or that they're trying to not talk so much or doing all these like different things. I hear people or like they're trying to like find alternatives like by like working from home or whatever it is, like, right, it doesn't matter, but the whole point is that people are like, oh, like this is like, I hear like people of kind of more commonly from older generations saying stuff like, oh, like we could handle so much more when we were your age. Shut up. No, you couldn't. Like, if I say someone's pronouns, you get your panties tied in a knot. So shut up. But the point being is that there's no possible way it even looks like it did, nonetheless, or like not just like fucking 30, 40, 50 years ago, but nonetheless 10 years ago. Fuck, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Things are moving so fucking fast. Like it's completely difficult to like to kind of keep up. Like today, I know this is probably nothing new to anyone that already knows this, but I wanted to just say, fucking today, Artemis was saying how, because he's getting new glasses, right?
Finally,
And he,
jeez.
and so, or he was waiting until he can get the discount through his job because he can get a discount that way.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame him. Glasses can get pretty fucking expensive pretty quick, especially if you don't have insurance. Love it here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but they were trying to sell him on smart glasses, and it was these glasses that have technology in it where it's like you could like listen to music through that. Like there's like a bunch of things that they could do.
Oh, I've seen those, yeah.
Right. And I was like, imagine being that exposed to shit all the time. Now, is it likely in the future that's going to probably happen? It's just going to be as common as like owning a fucking microwave or a toaster? Probably, right? At this rate. But gee, and I was just thinking about this, like, Jesus fucking Christ, the amount of exposure of information all the time. It's like, no wonder, even as a society, suicide rates are at an all-time high. It's too much.
Yeah. And don't talk shit about a toaster.
I said what I said about toaster. I hope you hear me, toaster.
Hey, yeah, you know what? This year is the first time I've had a toaster in like 7 years. 8 years. Something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I moved into this place in 2015, and it wasn't until this year I was like, you know what? I don't have a toaster.
Oh my god! Like,
I went.
You didn't eat bread.
Yeah, I was like, it's been 8 years since I owned a fucking toaster. I was like, damn, I just haven't needed one.
Dude, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, that's pretty bonkers.
Well, you got a toaster now?
I got a toaster now.
I am so proud of
and
you.
I don't know where it is. I think I know
What?
where it might
What?
be. I just don't know where it is. It's in.
Is it in the bathtub? God, I hope it's not in the bathtub.
It could be. It's called my contingency plan. Ignorance is bliss, I guess. It sure is. Hey, Shaker. Hello, Michaela. Welcome. But yeah.
Yeah. Very proud of you.
I am proud that I finally grew up and bought a toaster. $20. Oh man, I'm making it big now.
What was I gonna say? You are
something about glasses, Artemis, money.
Oh yeah, exposure to like information and suicide and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to say all that because, like, okay, I want to go ahead and go into this today. Sharing a pet peeve. Today is a day that Asteria has a feeling outside of empathy or just disgust. Anyway,
Shaker says they can't do willful ignorance. Yeah, it's
I like
tough.
it's tougher. It's more tough than ever. Um, but it's still possible. Anyway, this is something I feel like I want to address, and I want to get your thoughts on this.
Pet peeves?
This particular one I would like to share.
Okay. Chad, if you got any pet peeves, throw them in. I'd like to
Pet
hear
peeve
yours.
is this. I have a pet peeve surrounding expectations on me, or the expectations of communication out of, or from me, just because of me having a phone, and I'll expand on that. I feel for a long time people have this belief that just it's like, oh, I sent you a text, right? Or a message, but I see that you're on this other like platform, but you didn't respond to me, right?
Right.
This is a pet peeve of mine because just because I am on my phone doing stuff doesn't mean that you are automatically entitled to my time. Like, and what I do with my energy. It is not my fault that the place that I also get entertainment from is also my form of communication. If it was my choice, these would be two separate things. But the exposure to knowledge, information, social media, and my silly little Candy Crush are all on the same fucking thing. So, and I'm like, and it's just, I put it in my pocket. It's right there, right? The reason I say this is because I think many times that people think that they're entitled to other people's time just because they have that's like because it's the same placement of like where they have their they do their communication.
Right.
The reason why, because and then they'll personalize it or take it personal of like, well, you didn't respond to me, that means I must not be important. Here's a news flash to you, and I'm saying that as universal you. If you agree to it or not agree to it, whatever. Your pet peeve will be different than my pet peeve, and I mean that to anyone in chat too. Is this? The thing is that like I am somebody who is attention deficit. I live with this. My brain is wired that whatever is the most powerful needed piece of information will subsede any other priorities in my brain at any given moment. It just is. Okay? There's nothing I can do at this point. I can do my best. It's not like I could just practice it and work on muscles and stuff like that. I could use skills to the best of my ability. I could take medication if I choose to do so, which I don't. And I could have a silly little stimulant like coffee to do my best to manage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's like, but your message to me, I will look at it, and first of all, if it's a fucking paragraph or a pamphlet long, I will look at it and glance at the amount of words and I will just close it. I am not that person. Just call me at that point. Just fucking call me. And or send me a voice message. Like something like that. But if you want me to respond to all that message and I'm in a place where I just don't have the energy to do it, I just won't. Like I'll look at them like that's a lot and I'll just go away. Or I'll see the message and then all of a sudden something like somebody's talking to me and then I just won't come back to this conversation until later. It's not personal to you. It's not because I'm like, oh, I hate this person secretly and I never talk to them about it, and whatever the case may be. I have to do the best I can at managing my priorities at any given time. And just because I have exposure to my phone or you see me on another platform does not mean I automatically hate you. But it also means that you don't have access to my time whenever if it fits your schedule. That's just my thoughts. Unless you're paying me. So, and that's it.
Here's $20. Talk to me.
Better than anyone else.
Would you do that? If someone sends you a paragraph on something, you look at it, and then 2 minutes later, you see a Venmo. It's like,
I will prioritize that. I will. It's like, here's $20.
Read my
message. I was like, you got it, champ. I am there like white on rice. Like, and I'm not saying that money is my motivator, but it has to be a motivation such as time. Like it's something that like is constricted to time. It's something that is appealing to a common cause. It is something like or it's like it dependent on the relationship. That's also just a factor, but is not the only thing. My best friend can message me, and then all of a sudden, because of everything, I'm like, oh shit, she texted me 3 days ago. Fuck. Right? I'm like, but it's not because my best friend is any less important to me. It just is. Like, but I feel a lot of time people they try to personalize it as a direct attack to them to manage some pseudo form of control. And that, when people use that approach, that's my pet peeve. It's not personal. Thank you for listening. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it makes sense. People will message me things, and then I won't look at it till later. But sometimes it's because I'm in school, or if I'm at the gym, I'll see a message come through. It's like, no, I'm not stopping what I'm doing right now because I'm in the middle of something, and I just don't want to, lose my train of thought of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Or
and you will so easily, right?
Yeah, and then there's other times I'll be laying in bed and a text message will come through, and I can look over at my phone. And I'm like, "Fuck that! I'm not I'm not going to respond to that."
That's a tomorrow problem.
That's a tomorrow problem. I'm tired. So yeah. Hay Shaker says their pet peeve is hearing and being body shamed. Yeah, is that really a pet peeve though? Does that fall on the pet peeve? That's just I don't know if that's under the pet peeve thing. That's just I don't think anybody likes that. Could be a
trauma response. Yeah, that could be a trauma response too. But I just want to give this kind of warning to anybody in chat. I could easily find everything or take anything and trace it back to trauma. So please don't take it personal.
Yeah. Along the whole messaging thing, though, a pet peeve that I get along that line is if you're messaging back and forth with someone, and like somewhere in the conversation, it's like, oh, what are you doing right now? Just chilling on my couch. And then they send you like this, like a conversation starts getting really long, and you go, fuck this, and you just call them, but they don't answer the phone. They're like, and then you're like, what the fuck? And then they respond, text back immediately, like you never called them. It's like, you just said you're sitting on your ass not doing anything, just staring at your ceiling. And this is a long-ass conversation. Just pick up the fucking phone. I don't have time to be sitting here texting all this shit.
Okay, so this is where I think generational differences in relation to owning phones is interesting. Because very similar, at least in my generation, very similar to visiting one another, in my generation, and this is common, I've talked about this with many folks that are in my age range, if they are outside or like outside of your living, whatever quarters, whatever the case may be, they don't always just go knock on the door. They'll text, I'm outside.
I do that.
Right? Like, they don't approach the door like that, right?
It depends on where I'm at.
Well, yeah, it's always going to depend, right?
Because if when I went over to Asian man's house, I would go over to his house and I would text him I'm here for a couple reasons. Because one, he lives with his parents, and I know that sometimes his dad works nights and his mom works during the day, so one of them might be asleep and I don't want to ring the doorbell and shit like that. So it just kind of depends. But if I'm if I go up to your house, well, I have to text you because you have a gate that's locked, so I can't even get to your front door.
I love that thing.
Yeah. With me, it's like I can just go up to my house or stuff like that.
Yeah, you can just go straight up to your door. Yeah. I know that it's gonna ultimately depend, more likely than anything. And the reason why I'm saying that is like the same thing when it comes to this generation of phone owners, because like with I know that if there's anything like with my people, unless like there's again that unique piece of it all, we'll just say like, hey, is this a good time to call you? Like, hey, do you got you got an opportunity to be on the phone?
I do that
Like,
to you. I'm like, are you available right now?
yeah, exactly. And then I think that's even a better way because like sometimes I'll just like I'll have somebody just call me and I'll just look at it ring and I'm just like I just don't got energy to do this right now. Um and it's like again, it's not personal. It's like I know some folks that could easily keep me on the phone for an hour.
I know
And
that person.
and I was just in sessions from back to back to back from in therapy sessions from like 9 to fucking 4. Like
Right.
I have nothing more to give. So I'll just look at it. Now again, that depends. That always situation based, blah blah blah, all these things. It's like, but sometimes I'll just see him like I will just assess and be like, hey, like I just don't have the energy for this right now. Like again, it's not personal. And I know that this is probably something very crucial for you to talk about. Um it's like I will get back to you as soon as I can. Like I usually don't go too long when it comes to calling back for certain folks in my life. Um but especially compared to text messages, but damn, sometimes like if somebody keeps me on the phone too long, I just don't got the energy to be there all that time. So any thoughts from chat? Like I just wanted to go always welcome that here and there about what's your relationship when it comes to phone calls and like what is like your more preferred way of like, do you just wish people would just call you? Are you more of a text person? Calls are just limited to emergencies. Like what are your thoughts? And so back to you, Kilted. What do you think?
Well, let's see. Hey Shaker says, I think I could handle pet peeves better if I wasn't depressed. Yeah, I can see how some pet peeves could become worse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially with like calling and texting, and it's like, well, why are they not answering? And then you can start spiraling into this whole other thing. Because I've definitely done that.
Or you could like, well, because okay, as much as once again I want to bring it up internal family systems because it's like fuck, it's like here's an opportunity to talk about it. I love that shit. I won't. I will just say this. Sometimes the way that like symptoms work, such as like depression and PTSD and anxiety and blah blah blah, all these things, sometimes our chemical and physiological and mental breakup and love, like when it comes to like signals and neurotransmitters and all that, is that sometimes our body may learn to exacerbate the severity of certain symptoms or exacerbate reactions to certain things in order to get needs met, right? And many times people, and like this one, when I bring this one up, many people are like, no, I'm so in control about how everything works in my body. I'm just going to tell you this. No, you're not. You're such a slave to the meat machine Like, it's so fucking ridiculous. Um, the thing is that if your body learned that the only way that you get certain needs met inside of you is by exacerbating certain symptoms or signals, or even inhibiting other ones, just to get a need met, whatever that need is, for whatever purpose, it fucking will. Like, and it sucks. It happens all the time to everybody. And if you give me any kind of scenario, I could probably figure out why that could be like, oh, that's your brain exacerbating or inhibiting something for you so it can meet a need. Like, it's fucking insane.
Sounds like fun.
Like, okay, here's a quick version, right? I know we talk about this example a lot, but I think it's just easier than most examples without getting too deep or too dark. Getting cut off in traffic, right?
Yes.
Right. So getting cut off in traffic, for some people, that could inhibit or it could exacerbate certain emotional reactions, limitations, or signals inside of us, right? For some people, they might get angry, right? But some people get disproportionately angry, like life-threatening angry, right? And people may ask why. It's like, that doesn't seem like the amount of energy that is needed to do this scenario, right?
Right.
The thing is that there's something that resembles in the situation of being cut off in traffic that is equated to a need in this individual. Is it the need of safety? Is it the need of control? Is it the need of consent because somebody cut you off without signaling, right? And you didn't get permission? Because again, signals, I don't care who you are and your feelings about this, signals are not they're question marks and not exclamation points of can I come over versus I'm coming over, okay? That's again another pet peeve.
Unless you're making a turn into a driveway or something. That's like,
That's
hey, I'm about to make a maneuver. Watch out,
get
world.
Ready.
I'll be slowing down at some point. Yeah,
but
good luck, everybody else.
But so when people get disproportionately angry, it's exacerbating this emotional signal to being able to meet the priority of whatever that need is. Now, many times when I say this, I usually and commonly am met with, that doesn't make sense. Here's the kicker. Feelings are not reasonable.
Well, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people because a lot of people don't know stuff. Have you tried explaining calculus to a 5-year-old?
Such a good analogy.
Of course it doesn't make sense. They just don't know how it works.
You just don't know how it works, right? Which is fine. I wouldn't encourage you to know how this works. I know I know a lot of how it works, and I am still a dummy dumb. And that's okay. I don't want to know. As much as I do know, I don't want to know anymore. I'm good. I'm exhausted with the knowledge I have. That is not me bragging. I'm genuinely tired. But that being said, because again, the thing is that feelings don't make sense because they're feelings, not reason, right?
Right.
But your needs still are important. I don't care who tried to teach you otherwise. I don't know what they tried to benefit from you. I don't care what was the ultimate reason to dismiss needs in you individually. Needs are as important as water and air, okay? Because needs are a motivation to be alive. Haha. And so one of those needs is safety. And usually and most commonly, everybody shares the need of safety, right?
Yeah.
So in this example of being what was it about cars that they were fucking like somebody fuck, what did I say?
The turn signal thing, or people cutting you off in traffic, or
People cutting you off in traffic, right? Is that however is like you may respond, or maybe you'll freeze. Maybe something like this happens and all of a sudden you're like, or maybe you'll start arguing with them, or maybe you'll dissociate or something. Ultimately, your body is reacting to a signal of something deeper, that is something that is either exaggerating or inhibiting something within you in order to meet a need. So when people get like when people say they make comments about each other's bodies, right? And you're somebody that has body dysmorphia, right? Again, that is a technical diagnosis. Like, I'm not here to give that to anybody, and I don't necessarily encourage just being like, I have body dysmorphia. Like, go to a professional. But anyway, but I also can't stop self-diagnosing, and I'm not going to try today. So, is this. If you get very impacted or you feel a significant increase in energy, such as a trigger, because that's what triggers are, it's a significant increase in energy, or can be an impact to energy. If you get that when somebody starts saying, standoffish or outlandish or whatever ish terms related to body makeup and so forth, that is a reflection of your body exacerbating a need within you, or inhibiting a feeling within you, because there's an underlying need. Why this is important to differentiate is because many times people think that we need to change a lot of each other and we need to talk a certain way and live a certain way with each other in order to avoid triggers. And many times, especially in my world and mental health world, people are like, I have to avoid being triggered. No, you don't. You need to learn how to live with that trigger. And you need to understand the skills of how to better manage the trigger, because if not, that's going to keep haunting you like a really bad pop song. And why did I say specifically a pop song? Because it's going to sound the same and it's going to hit the same notes every single time. And the only one's going to keep on having to deal with it is you.
Yep, like having a bad song stuck in your head.
Like having a bad song stuck in your head.
You're just like, go away.
So that's why when people are like, I will only, like, this is another thing. And this is now specifically a therapist pet peeve, and then I'll go ahead and pause after this. When people are like, I need this person to do differently so I can feel better. No. That's not how it works, and I don't feel bad that I have to be the one to tell you that. It's that you have to, like, it would be more beneficial in the long term for you to understand what about this person's behavior is impacting you, and work on that on a deeper level, so that this type of behavior or these types of themes in your life no longer take energy away from you, because you can't control the world. Like, you have to understand the lines of what you can control and what you can't control, and try to find peace within it. That is literally what the serenity prayer says. The serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. Despite the domination or non-denominational, like, religious element to it all. I think it's just really important for people to understand the origins of their triggers, rather than thinking they have to change all of the world outside of them in order to avoid it from happening. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Hey Shaker says feelings are all we have in the end, and all we are even. And then they said, I can't lie to myself. I guess I'll never get past that.
I don't I don't believe working in absolutes and all honesty. I feel like again, it can be an inhibiting piece of that. I think that many times like when it comes to emotions, it's like we need to learn how to live with them than them have continuously having control over us. Um, but again, it's so deep of how it goes if we want to go the trauma route, which I always do because it's like I think that's the most effective way. That's again just my approach to mental health. If you want a different approach, please find another therapist. It's not me. Um, there's a lot of big clinical or mental health people in the world that I follow. So I'm gonna drop some names for some folks if you want to look up their work and stuff like that. Um, People that I follow are people like Gabor Mate, Richard Schwartz, Esther Perel, the Gottmans, um, freaking Peter Levine, um, oh God, whatever his name is. I'm trying to remember his name, but like, there's more folks. But these are some folks that go to show, not all of the names I said, but some of the names I mentioned, talk about that when we're talking about understanding us at a very deep level, um, it's important to know that a lot of the healing of related to our relationship and our pain goes back as far back to our childhood as possible, even to the point prior to when we were endowed with language and before what is called pre-verbal trauma. This is trauma that we could have been exposed to before we were able to speak or to develop memory. And I think it's important for us to identify that, because many times people think that trauma is these distinct moments in time, like a car crash or forms of abuse, um, and so forth. Now, those are not trauma, those are traumatic. Those are traumatic events. But the trauma that we experience is what continues to impact our nervous system and our bodies. And how I know that that's trauma compared to the events is that you could step, or like, and just in a hypothetical way, you could step away from an abusive environment, but how that abusive environment continues to impact your everyday life or your ongoing relationships or your ability to maintain a job, blah blah blah, that's trauma. And you can move clear across the universe and still feel all of that, because you can't go away or get away from it until you start working on what's going on inside of you. And many things can be traumatic and life threatening, especially to a child, right? Because when a child comes into the world, even while they're in utero, the world is a big, scary place. You're small, you're vulnerable, you can't speak, and you can't defend yourself, and you depend on somebody else to get sheltered, food, bathed, and clothed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and you don't hold the place inside of you that's able to retain or maintain rationale. So all what do you have to work with? Your emotions. And when you're little, you are just being sent and fed these signals from your brain that are saying, I need this to get big and grow so I can be able to defend myself. and take care of myself. But until then, I need you, whoever, caregiver, parental figure, whoever that person is. And we're not even going to get into the complexities of attachment theory this time. But any time that a child is crying, that is or that could have been to that child something that is life-threatening. They cannot differentiate of something being life-threatening and not being life-threatening because everything is big and new and scary all the time.
Right.
I have seen so many videos, especially, I'm going to bring this up because this is so common during Halloween times, at least here in America, where there's videos of like babies being scared with Halloween masks, and then all the adults are laughing and they're like, oh, ha ha, like, look at this baby get scared, right? That was downright life-threatening to that child. That baby does not retain the place in their brain that says, this is just a Halloween mask. They see this as something like significantly and severely life-threatening, and then they cry and see everyone around them not giving them their need of comfort and support, and they're all just laughing and disconnecting from them. That could have been an opportunity for trauma to grow in them.
Yeah.
There.
And I think people need to stop doing that to kids, because I saw that on TikTok just, last week or whatever it was. And I was like, that kid's going to be fucked up now. And, I mean, come on, I don't know if this ever happened to you with our father, but...
Yes!
You ever...
That's what I was about to say!
Yeah, it's like, he would show up once, and all of a sudden he doesn't have his mustache. When I was a kid, I was like, who the fuck is that guy? I'd freak the fuck out. I was like, what the hell is that thing?
Yes. Oh my god. Yes. What a great example. Even to a baby, if a caregiver has facial hair one moment and does not have facial hair the next, they cannot differentiate that is caregiver or not caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are now in the hands of somebody they think is a stranger. And they are crying because they are frightened and feel like their life is threatened.
Yes. That's
trauma. And everyone's like, tee-hee, this is so cute. But this goes to show how underestimated on how people truly understand trauma. And that's why when folks are like, what is the best thing to help for people to heal? Here's the fucking kicker. Everyone thinks that the formula to heal from trauma is something complex and difficult and all these things. Now, again, you could do intensive work like the kind of work I do with my clients. But if you want to just be a person giving support to another person of like, how can I help one another in healing trauma? Be fucking nice to each other. Just be nice. Because, like, so many times, like, these sudden shocks to our bodies, especially when we're very young, is the equivalence of feeling like this is life and death. Being exposed to environments alone, and you see a child looking everywhere for a care or for their parent, and they're just left there alone and they're just crying. They may have, right then and there, abandonment issues. Right then and there. The baby can't tell the difference if you're going to be back or not. So you have to do your best to continue to attune to needs and support. It doesn't mean that it's all or nothing. Like, oh, now they have abandonment issues, they're fucked forever. But you need to appeal to the needs of like, hey, and the consistency, especially for kids, of I'll be right back.
Right.
Because many times people are like, they believe I have to be the perfect parent in order for my kid not to get fucked up. No, you just have to try your best to attune to their needs, be loving and caring, and be approachable, and most importantly, be able to own up to when you were wrong, willing to admit that you were wrong and engage in conversation with your child. These are opportunities for secure attachment to show up for children and minimize the chances of trauma to develop and stay within our system. The problem is in a very macro level generational trauma that goes through the plethora of different cultures and backgrounds and everything like that, is that many times we get so hung up in defensiveness, especially from older folks, where they're like, well, I only did the best that I could, and that means like I can't budge. Yes, you could, but it's like, but this is years and generations and thousands of years of just, thousands, millions, of evolution that is barely healing now. Barely. It has been a generation buildup after one after another, that now for the first time in human evolution, where we're actually talking about it and prioritizing it. And no, it's not perfect, and we're nowhere near it, and I am so excited for the future of it. But the thing is that the minimum that you could do to one another is just be fucking nice.
Yeah. Combo says facial hair trauma is real. It sure is.
Oh man, is it? That's it. That in itself right there, boom, trauma. But go ahead, keep laughing when that baby's crying and freaking out because tee-hee, right?
Yeah. And Combo has a good chance I don't know how long he's had a beard, but he's got a hell of a beard on. I mean, he could have easily scared the shit out of his son, like when he was little, I'm sure, if he ever shaved it.
Sure. Like, because the kids can't tell the difference, right?
Yeah. There is something I want to bring up that Hey Shaker was saying, and I don't remember exactly what he was or what they were referring to. They said, I wouldn't want to lie to myself even if I could, and I don't remember exactly what it was on about, but the whole, because I know you say, I don't know if you want to call it lying to yourself. It's basically, giving yourself I don't know how to word this, like saying things to yourself that even if you don't think that they're true, it will eventually change your mindset.
Yeah, neuroplasticity and all that.
Yeah, and so how could Hay Shaker, knowing that they don't want to lie to themselves even if they could, how is there anything you could put forth that would make it beneficial, that could help them see it as a beneficial thing, even if they are quote unquote lying to themselves?
If you're talking shit about yourself, you're already lying to yourself. I always like to kind of start that one off. It gives a nice silly little shock to my clients' face when I tell them, like, and they're like, yeah, I know, crazy, right? Because again, many times when people are saying kind of ill things about themselves, it's not them saying it to themselves. It was that it was implemented in their system, whether directly or indirectly by something or someone else, and they continue to regurgitate it to themselves as a form of pseudo control, or belief that it has to be truth because that's the only thing that they think that they can hold on to as truth, because that's something that we're constantly trying to do, is find truth, but that doesn't exist. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, and gathering the information that I've just kind of heard of over the last few weeks is they've probably been told, bad things, or honestly, even if the stuff that they've been, or even if it hasn't been told to them, the big one is going to be social media. Let's say, Hey Sugar says, because if I did start to lie to myself about one thing, I could start doing it about other things too. What's your response to that?
Well, here's the thing. It's like, it kind of comes down to what is your motive, right? And what do you want for yourself more than anything? Like, for instance,
Excuse me.
like, no, it's this. Like, for a long time, I just downright thought I was a bad person, right? I thought the like because or like and my feelings didn't matter. Like I was unshakable about this when I was like, my feelings don't matter. Don't worry about me. I'm only here for everybody else and not for myself, right? And no amount of like reassurance from friends, from family, from whatever could shake this from me, right? Until I got a therapist that asked the question, why? Why do you think that? Like, what do you benefit from this or like from this belief? And I sat there and I was like, I don't fucking know, actually. It's like, and if you do not know, there's a likelihood it was planted in by somebody else, right? So what do you want to believe for yourself, right?
Right.
Because by doing that, you are identifying what you want your truth to be. So many people get caught up in saying of, I need to know the truth. I need to live my life by the truth, right? Here's the fucking kicker I cannot emphasize enough to anybody else on this goddamn planet. You will never know the truth. Whatever the truth is, right? Because the truth is, I had to know their motives, their incentive, their reason, right? Of why they did what they did, as an example, right? But unless you have complete access, unfiltered to their mind, their nervous system, their memory and everything, you're not going to get that information. And even then, that's still not going to be the truth. That's going to be their truth. Right?
Right. Hey Shaker says, I want to believe the truth. And
you gotta make your own truth.
Yeah, and the one thing, the two things that I'm assuming where they would have gotten this information of why they're not good enough. I'm just going to assume outside parental figures. Most likely peers and social media. The two, fucking God, dude, social media is such a fucking
or
shit
just
pool.
media, even for generational folks that I don't want to assume what this person ages, but like being exposed to newspapers, TVs,
TikTok, YouTube, fucking
TikTok, YouTube,
Snapchat.
your neighbor, like whatever, on a societal level, directly or indirectly, somebody created and formatted the message of this is what is acceptable, and because you don't fit this box, you don't get love, care, and support and acceptance.
Exactly. And I want to, with the social media side of things and what it's doing to, I'll just say from what I've witnessed with like the younger women of today, is the severe delusion that young women in today's world have of what a man, like the man for them is when they're like dating. Like, because every time I hear this shit, it's like they got to make a minimum 6 figures, especially the young women. They're like, I want them to be like 25 to 30 years old, 6 feet tall, have a 6-figure income, and this and that and yada yada. And you can actually pull up statistics on this shit, and it's like the average income for a guy in that age, or like the percentage chance of you finding that guy in that age range with that, you know, how tall he is and all that shit, it's like 0.0002%. In every, it's like good fucking luck. That doesn't exist. You're delusional because you see it online. You see all these influencers that happen to have that very, very small or like narrow gap that do have that. That's not the norm. And
I don't even, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and they're out of their fucking minds. That's just not how it works. I mean, because I even put my stats into that same calculator. I'm over 6 feet. I put in how much I make in the age range, and I went from the age range of a guy that's 18 to I think like fucking 65. I'm in the top 0.12% of men, and I'm still single.
Because I'm like, but you could say it is about women and their expectation of men. And we can talk about this when it comes, because again, we're
It
only
goes
just
both
talking about this
ways.
in yeah, like, but it goes all ways, right?
Yeah.
Because this isn't just men to women or women to men, but this is all gender and all sexual orientations and everything, right? Because even it's like, hey, he has to be this tall with this six or this amount of money, and he has to also be the perfect lover. He has to be friends with my mom. He has to make plans with my siblings on the weekends while making the perfect gift to me while blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah.
Like all these ideas of what it is, what it has to look like. Same thing to her. She has to look like this. She has to have this waist with this bust, with this ass, with this hair, with this job, without being needy, while looking good all the time, without breaking a sweat, while like being able to, or like, but not flirting with my friends, but being homies with everybody, with being okay. It it can keep going on all the time, even for those folks that are gender and sexuality. If you're somebody that's like, I, in order to be androgynous, it has to look like this and blah blah blah. We can go all day of what it's quote supposed to look like, right?
Yeah.
But the thing of what it comes down to is that it's an impact of what, and I'm just going to get straight to the core what it is here is a projected idea of what it looks like to be accepted, to receive love, care, and support.
Right. So the people that look like this, the very, very small few people that look like this, they always portray a perfect lifestyle because that's
Mm-hmm.
all they show online. They don't show the shitty parts because, they don't want to portray that when most of them have a lot of shitty parts.
Yes, and that is their truth. A lot of the time, like social media is such fucking hogwash. Like, to say the fucking least. Like, I'm not always there putting all my negative shit out there, but I try my best to say this is what's honestly going on. Like, this is what it looks like. This is what I'm doing. Blah blah blah. All these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, even the
We
most attractive people, there are going to be days where they roll out of bed, they had some drinks or some food the night before, they're bloated, they got a pimple on their ass, some shit like that. Like someone smashed in their fucking car. They bought this house that they for $30 million, but it had bad plumbing, and now it's fucking flooded out, and there's diarrhea flowing all over their basement or their wine cellar. It's like they're not going to post that.
They're not, of course they're not, because what happens when they do? It impacts their ability to access attachment.
Yes.
This is comes back to attachment versus authenticity. But anyway, the whole point is about going back to what Hey Shaker's thing about lying to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about your motive. It's like, here's the fucking kicker. You're already lying to yourself if you're continuing to regurgitate negative beliefs towards yourself. Which again, that goes into such a deeper piece of trauma, which I encourage you to find a therapist to talk more about. Because it's much deeper and it's going to take much more time than our silly little stream every Thursday. And the thing is that you get to make your truth. That's what it comes down to. That was the key that I realized why this took so long in my personal journey. I was like, I need this to look like this so people could love me. I realized I need this to look like this for myself so I could love me, right? And because ultimately, the person you are guaranteed to go to bed with every night, unless you have insomnia, is every night, or even stay up in a freaking spiral of insomnia, is still you. People come and go, people die, people leave. Fucking people just say like, hey, I'll see you later, and boom, they get struck by a car. Never see them again, right? It is just you with you.
Now,
And
Hey Shaker says, been there, done that, and then they say making your own truth is a horrible way to think, which I call hot farts on. What's your response to that?
it's ultimately that's your relationship on it. Like, I'm not here to convince anything. Like, this is what I'm honestly saying to you is that, like, the thing is that when it comes to you and your relationship with yourself and your perception of the world, it's going to be dependent on you. Like, and if you continue to try to obtain it from external sources, you're just going to be lost into a impact of being hurt, because again, everything that's coming outside of self is still subjective and ongoing. The thing about with your truth is that this is what you need for yourself in order for you to be okay with yourself. And if you look, it's like if you, even by going in the mirror every day and just saying neutral statements about yourself rather than just this toxic positive approach to your thoughts and everything like that, like you start to meet at a realistic level of like what's going on with yourself. But if you're sitting there all day in this self-deprecative form of yourself in order to manage whatever it is personally, that's like that goes to show more about where you are in your stages of change rather than what truly works and doesn't work. And in your stages of change, like again, I think it's much more of like not just stages but more like phases of change, but I wasn't there at the conversation of it all. Is that it talks about like what are you, or like are you ready to like go through and doing this type of work of what it's truly going to take. In the stages of change, there's like, if I'm not mistaken, it's broken down into like pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. um and the thing is like if you're at a place where the cost of like the problematic behavior is not yet recognized, or you're not at a place of like really seeing what it's going to take, or you're hesitant to seeing what it's going to take for this to change, um that just reflects where you are in your personal journey. But that's just you. Like again, what works, what doesn't work, take it or leave it. It's up to you. But I think this is like, but the denial of what does work and doesn't work, again, that's coming from a way deeper place inside of you that I think that would be more beneficial from getting individual support. Yeah.
They say, I'm sorry. There's no need to apologize.
Yeah, I'm not taking it
Yeah,
personally.
there's nothing to apologize for. But I mean, with the whole different stages thing, I mean, the only thing I can relate to is just going back to my weight loss journey. Was there was something I didn't like, and I always thought to myself, "There's no way I can fix this. I've tried it; it didn't work. I tried it; it didn't work," until I realized that I was just going about it the wrong way, and then I realized that it was going to take a lot more work than I thought originally, and then I had to decide to myself that I'm going to do this no matter what. I don't care if I look stupid. I don't care if I feel like shit. I don't care. I want this change done, and I'm going to do whatever the goddamn hell I need to do to get it done. And
Yes.
I did it. And then also, you also hear people like, well, I lost 30 pounds or whatever, now I'm fat again. It's like, because you didn't hold up to what you said, the maintenance stage.
Yes, exactly.
Because you
That's
can't
the
just be
whole
like, I
thing.
got down to, 190 pounds, time to go back to burgers and shit. No. The only
Yeah,
reason I
no.
still look the way I do is because I'm in the fucking gym 5 days a week, every goddamn morning, and then some.
And that's the thing, like, and that's why I'm where I am with my mental health, because it's something I work on and like maintain, both working on it or maintaining on it every day. Like it's like, and many people are like, well, don't you get tired of maintaining it all the time? I'm like, compared to what? Using the energy of continuing to reinforce negative thought patterns and things that are also going to take just as much energy to continue to reinforce inside me all the time. Choose where you put your energy. Like, and if you're not ready for that change, not you, hey shaker, just universal you, then you're just not ready. And it's not a reflection of you being bad or you're being wrong or you being broken. It's that there has to be a deep connect, or a deep acceptance of self, of what are you ready to do and willing to do to receive and achieve what you want. It is going to be uncomfortable. I cannot deny that. Like, but I'm just gonna quickly go through this, or the stages of change really quickly, because I think it's really important for what we're talking about. The quick, I'm not gonna explanation, but in between, I'm just gonna keep on going. The stages of change are, number one is pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation is the cost of a problematic behavior. The cost of them is not recognized yet. The problematic behavior can be self-harm, substance abuse, it could be eating or like eating behaviors. It can be a lack of whatever. It could be reinforcing negative self-talk, being continuously being exposed to problematic or harmful environments, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the cost of the problematic behavior is truly and honestly is not yet recognized. The individual is in denial and is not seriously considering changing their behavior. They may have made previous attempts to change, but have since given up. So that's number one. Two is contemplation. The individual is experiencing ambivalence, so that they're caught between yes and no of about change. Like, should I, shouldn't I? Maybe this, maybe that, right? They can see reasons to change their behavior, but they are still hesitant. The problematic behavior continues. Three, preparation. The individual has decided to change their behavior and they begin to think about how to do so. During this stage, they will begin to make minor changes to support their goal, but they might not have completely ended the unwanted behavior, which is okay. It's part of the process. It's not all or nothing. You sometimes just need to get the willpower to get somewhere. But anyway, four is action. Action is significant steps are taken to end the problematic behavior. The individual might be avoiding triggers, and reaching out for help, or taking steps to avoid temptation. Or they've found skills to better maintain and manage triggers. I would change it to that. 5 is maintenance. The change made during the action stage was maintained. The individual may continue to face challenges, but at this point, they have successfully changed their behavior for a significant period of time, as subjective to how they want it to look like for themselves. These are really important because, this is really interesting, and I know ironic if you know what I know, but this is a piece of kind of like insight our dad has like gave to me, and I know it's ironic the source it's coming from, but it's something that really stuck with me. You will change the very moment that you want to. That is what stuck with me, because you can profess day and night a desire to change, but there is something deep inside that says, and it's this moment of just like the snap, whatever it is, or it could be ongoing maintenance, however it must be, but it needs consistency for that change to occur. And all of a sudden, there you go. Even in the example that Kilted shared of like, hey, this is what I want, but then I realized this is what it's really going to take. That could have easily, depending on his stage of change, that could have changed the trajectory of where he went with that. And now this is the result of where he is, which is great. That's what he wanted in regards to his truth of his life, of his desire for change. And now he's in maintenance of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm somebody that has seen it. He dedicates himself to that. That is now become his thing for himself, because that's what he wanted life to be. The same for me in regards to mental health. Like, I wanted things to be different, and I have sat and I have had breakdowns and crying and grieving for loss of childhood and sitting in discomfort and being vulnerable and open and asking for help and all of these things. And I can honestly say today, I feel I finally feel at most at peace than I have my whole life. Like,
I'm
and
jealous.
and it took a long time, but it's the equivalent of the energy I put into my mental health is what you've put into your physical health. Right? Like, and it's like, and ultimately it comes down to when your system feels like it's ready to do that, or that's what it wants to do. But that, to you alone and to anyone that's listening, that doesn't mean that you have failed. It's that there's a plethora of pieces of what is contributing to this process of change to occur, but to just strictly continue to reinforce self-blame of, or that it's a self-deficiency, and saying like, oh, you're bad, that like, and you should know better and that you should do better. If you could, you would. This is just a genuine reflection of where you are at. And that is just the reality. And things will change, if they will, at one point. It just depends on, do you keep showing up?
Yeah, I mean, I can also kind of put that towards my job in a way. I mean, I'm working on getting the fuck out of there because I don't like that shit. And also, even before then, it got to a point where I was like, I'm tired of them walking all over me. So I just said, fuck you, I'm done with this shit. And I started like just fighting back with them. And now they, for the most part, kind of leave me alone. Combo, got to go. Thanks for the stream. Hope both of you have a great night. Have a good one, Combo. We'll see you later.
Bye, Combo.
Hopefully tomorrow for some Zelda.
Ooh.
He's going to be playing Zelda tomorrow morning.
Oh, dang. That's some good stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. What else was there? I think that's pretty much that.
That is pretty much, dude. Pretty much. I think like I think that it's just so common that people internalize and personalize that, like, when like change doesn't happen, like, oh, it's because I'm bad or I failed, right? But I think that it's just an attempt to take control, even in its own form. Because when you say like, oh, it's because I failed, you're trying to say like, it's because a result of me, right? Like, oh, it's because of like a lack of from me. But I think it's so much more deeper than that. But I don't think that people understand that piece sometimes, or maybe they're very comfortable in that they would rather just kind of accept that blame, or they're accustomed to it. I was talking to Wookie before the stream tonight, and him not being here is because of self-care, by the way, everyone. So shout out to Wookie in case we haven't done that so far. Yeah, sometimes self-care means you got to take care of yourself how you can, right?
Right.
And I'm going to share this, but I'm not going to know the details because this is between Wookie and I in a deeper way. But I want to say this, that sometimes in, like, we were talking about the concept of like people pleasing, which is called fawning, which is a trauma response for anyone that wants to learn something. In that, people pleasing is a way in order to navigate and minimize threat to harm, which again comes back to the point of safety, right? We fawn more more often than we think, to where sometimes we try to minimize ourselves in order for the name of safety, and that safety could be minimizing the pain of what goes on underneath, like for instance our needs being minimized, right? So I'm going to use an example real quick, okay?
Mm-hmm.
An example is this. Let's say that let's say that you make plans with somebody, right? And when you make these plans with somebody, you all of a sudden last minute they have to, or they cancel, right? Now you really were looking forward to these plans, right? But you say to them, "Oh, it's totally okay." And it's not okay for you, right? It hurts, right? But you just say, "Oh, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it is what it is," right? But it isn't just whatever. This really hurt you, right? But then you're like, and then after that, then you get stuck in a mental spiral of, I'm not worth it. Like, of course they weren't going to or going to stick with their plans with me. I'm not somebody worth spending time with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you engage in what just happened is fawning, which again trauma response, but also is this self-deprecative kind of like mental spiral, because you're trying to manage a deeper pain. The deeper pain is this. If you say statements such as, or you hear yourself saying statements like, of course they canceled me because I'm not worth it, you are trying to minimize sitting with the pain that is deeper than that of when you first received the message of I'm not worth hanging out with. You try to hurt yourself first so you don't give the power to others to hurt you, because that's going to hurt more than what you say to yourself. So much that sometimes our internal world will up the ante and say the most horrendous things to us. So again, it takes the power and control away from others being able to say it to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we look past that, we're looking at a really deep pain of when we had a need, more commonly when when we're as close to, or in childhood and when we're small, that we needed love, care, and we needed someone to appease to our needs and give us support and love and comfort, and we were denied it, or it was we were abandoned from it, or we were just didn't receive the form of how we needed it to show up,
Right.
right? And that hurts so much deeper to sit with, because when we are exposed to that initially, it hurts the equivalence of the highest peak of emotional pain, and like that is close to emotion, what I like to call emotional death. Like emotional death as much as possible, that our bodies try to convince us of doing some, or like of engaging in a false form of control by giving that pain a lesser form of that pain to ourselves by putting ourselves down,
Right.
because that hurts less than being hurt like that again. So we keep reinforcing that behavior because it minimizes us sitting with the deeper pain underneath that. But then we get chronically used to doing that, to the point where it's a behavior that no longer fits the crime, right? We get older, people just get busy, right? It is not personal, right? But it doesn't matter if it's personal or not in a rational way. It will continuously keep poking the unhealed wound and that emotional wound in the same spot over and over again until it's healed. And it will keep bringing us back to the day to which we received the wound to begin with.
Fun. I'm trying to See if there's any points where I could pinpoint where it started.
Yeah, think about it. If not, I'm gonna just start throwing up examples for myself because that's just easier. Because I've done so much of this work that me talking about it doesn't like fucking hurt. It doesn't hurt anymore. I feel a lot.
I don't know, because I'm trying to associate it to what happened on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, me getting stood up and all.
Mm-hmm. Is it being stood up or abandoned?
Can you abandon something that was never there to begin with? That makes sense?
Yeah. Or an idea of, right?
I'm not seeing the correlation per se.
So, okay. I'm going to use an example real quick. Okay. So, let's see. The example is this. Here it is. So, for a long time in my life, and I'm going to do a quick shout out to any of my best friends if they're listening because man, they have stuck through it through and through with me. Is that my best friends try to give me that reassurance, or they try to give reassurance to me a lot, especially when I was younger, and I just was not accepting it, right? I was not accepting that reassurance by a long shot. And I kept on saying, like, I just can't accept it. I just can't accept it. I just can't accept it. I don't deserve it. I don't blah blah blah, right? Something like that, right?
Right.
I would go so far as to even to sabotaging my relationships with folks to try to reinforce or challenge the message of, oh, that I'm a good friend or I've done good or whatever the case may be, right?
Right.
I really pushed the envelope, especially when I was younger, right? And the whole thing is like, when I kind of like was sitting there, I was like, but why would I do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is because when I was younger, like I could imagine it was even younger than this one, but this is a particular memory that I have that kind of contributes to this, is that when I was younger, so enjoy a little vulnerable time with Asteria. Our dad was using, surprise,
Oh.
and I know, it's like, what? He was using, and my mom was, she was trying to run off to go to my grandma's house, and she lived significantly further away than where we lived, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she would try to take me with her, my mom did, so that I can get away from that environment, right? Well, what happened is that I became a bargaining tool at one point. So our dad would try to keep me instead because that would be incentive for her to come back.
Right.
Right? So I have a memory of me running after her as she's like walking away, but she's not slowing down, and I am just like, I'm very small. I think I'm like 5 or even younger, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I'm running as fast as I can to try to get a hold of her, and I'm running as fast as I can. Our dad grabs me, picks me up, and it starts walking back into, like, this is on the street. It was nighttime, and walking back into the apartment that we lived in, and I'm there screaming for her, and she's walking away, like she's going to my grandma's house, and she's turn around, right? Why that correlates to the message of my inability to accept reassurance and my inability to accept that, like, I'm good and blah 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 like that, is because of the deeper message underneath that I indirectly received from that scenarios like that stated I wasn't good enough for you to take me with you. I wasn't good enough to not use and give me a safe home. I wasn't good enough and for this to have less chaos and that we could be a healthy family. Because it doesn't need to rationally make sense, because rationals don't make sense in the world of emotion, and emotion is all a child knows, especially up until the age about between 12 to 14 years old.
Okay.
Right? And so directly or indirectly we receive messages like this. Again, this is an extreme example because I had a very extreme childhood. But this is an extreme example because of the way these experiences manifest into our later behavior can be difficult to kind of like be this direct line of understanding, but you have to kind of sit there and do some deeper work of what occurrences happened in your childhood that play a contributing factor to how things are when you're older. And even more so, and then I'd like to hear if you kind of thought of an example from there, is that sometimes even the pain that we hold is not just the direct things that we've gone through, but it's the images that conjure up in our minds relating to our pain, or ones that are even that were planted in our brain. For instance, again, this is just a warning for some folks, this could be kind of graphic, like they even talk about. When I was younger, once again, quick version, is I was told by my mother that my dad was really, or like our dad was really against me being born, because I'm an oops baby, in their eyes, but haha, I made it because I'm better than them. But my mom wasn't wanting to get an abortion. She really wanted me, right? But our dad didn't. So I was given the story that then our dad started wailing on my mom in order to try to induce an abortion. So I didn't make it in this world, but like I said, I'm better than him. So my brain put that picture together. I have an image of what that looks like, of how I think it played out. And that is still trauma, because I received the message that I was unwanted before I even got here. Right? And in doing my EMDR work and my personal trauma work, I had to work with the image of, and it's wicked. And again, if you're not somebody that works with abstracts, that's between you. That I get it. I understand. But in that, it was really weird when I was doing EMDR, because the memory that kept coming to mind was me in the womb, like, and in this kind of like transparent look of like what it would look like if you like you shined a flashlight through a balloon and you put your hand on it and you can see like the outline of it. It's like me being being in utero, and I just all of a sudden see these shadows of 3 hits on the world outside and just hearing this boom, boom, boom sound, right? That's what my brain put together as an image to showing our father trying to force my mom to have an abortion, and like me getting out of there, right?
Right.
But that is also can be trauma. The stories that our older generations are saying, hey, when you were little, this is what you did. Our brains trying so much to make sense of things that it starts making images of what happens.
Right.
And that is our truth. Like when people are like, oh, blah, blah, about our truth, that is still our truth, because our system is trying to make sense of the world and saying that's what happened to us. Anyway, the whole point is that why I'm saying this is that because of that experience, I believe that I was not wanted, right? I'm like, and if I wasn't wanted by my own parents, who else would want me, right? That was such an impact in my friendships, my romantic relationships, my ability to connect with people for a large majority of my life. But what I needed to do was I had to sit and experience the feelings that impacted, like I truly felt, because I felt that feeling, like, and once I was able to finally process that and truly feel that feeling, then I was willing, again, this is just my experience, I was willing to accept that people could love me for who I am. But another thing that also helped me was also people continuously being consistent in their reinforcement of being loving, caring people, because that showed me, hey, what if there's a possibility that people can just love me for who I am. And when we get just an inch or even a centimeter, even smaller, it can go a long way in our process of change. Now, going back to you, Kilton, would you like to, or like, do you happen to feel like you relate of anything that comes to mind for you in relation to what came up for you on Saturday?
Um, I mean, I'm trying to figure it out because, like, I was an oops baby also,
Mm-hmm.
from what I heard, and so,
From what you heard, that's an important statement right there.
well, yeah, because how am I supposed to prove that fact?
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I was told from the parents is I was also unplanned. Um, but being stood up like that, maybe I don't know, because I don't know if this is a direct correlation or not. I'm just trying to piece a puzzle together. I don't even know if these pieces actually fit.
Whatever. Let's just say, hypothetically, let's just give it a silly little thought.
All right, so my brain automatically goes to, okay, obviously I'm not good enough because one, the two, the immediate logic is, well, we live in the southern half of California, and it's a hot market out there. Let's put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So top shelf stuff is a dime a dozen around here, and I'm just trying to piece together kind of like how you were piecing something together. It's like you've seen it. My mother loves to play favorites between myself and the eldest.
Yep.
And it has always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably just another thing. I'm just, like I said, I'm taking a shot in the dark, saying maybe it's something of, oh, someone else is like, more deserving of their time and effort than I am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And here's the thing, and for anyone who wants to know, it's all like about developing your own truth. Does that make sense to you?
yeah, maybe a little.
Yeah. Like, even just kind of checking things and seeing if they fit or throwing them out if they don't fit. Like, you're still testing things out, to seeing what you think sits with you,
Right.
right? And many times people get so caught up and like, well, that's not the truth and blah blah blah. We are on a floating rock in the middle of space. Like, are we really needing to have to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense? Sorry, that's existential. But it's more so of like, it doesn't, like, the thing is that is all we have. All we have is what subjectively makes sense to us in order for us to maneuver in the world. And however things make sense, that helps us maneuver in a way that where we function and are able to experience happiness and peace. Does it actually matter? about the details. So why do we get so hung up on it?
I have no idea.
Me either. But everybody wants concrete, or like they want, yeah, everybody wants concrete in a world made of jelly.
That's a good
Everything
way
is
to put it.
gray. Everything is gray. Everyone wants white and everyone wants black, but the world is fucking gray. And if I told you gray, your version of gray would look like differently than my version of gray, and they may even be spelt differently. That's not a silly little joke. That actually exists.
Yes, gray and gray.
Gray and gray.
All right, well, I'm gonna wrap it there.
Okay.
But real quick, I wanted to say something. There was something I saw online that I see, like, you know, people going out, like talking to people outside clubs or whatever. And I saw someone do this, and then I tried it on somebody else, and it was just kind of funny. So they go up to someone, and they're like, "Hey, you know, how many numbers are in the alphabet?" Do you know how many numbers are in the alphabet?
Numbers in the alphabet?
Yes.
There's no numbers in the alphabet.
That should be the correct answer, unless, because I pulled this on my math tutor. I said, "Hey, how many numbers are in the alphabet?" He said 2. I was like, "What?"
What are they?
He's like, E, which is Euler's number, which is like 2.78 something. It's an exponential. I was like, "Okay." And then he's like, I was like, I. He's like, square root of -1. I'm like, "You can go to hell." That's like higher levels of math. I'm like, fuck, he's right. So if anybody ever asks you that same question, how many numbers in the alphabet, you can tell them 2, E and I. Euler's number and the square root of -1.
Yeah,
which is I.
That's good.
Let's see. Hold on. Michaela says, "I have this vivid image of how my father hung himself, and I was only 11 months old." It's scary. Holy moly. I'm surprised you were able to remember that.
Yeah, like, well, I'm not too surprised. As much as memory starts to develop at like 4 and 5 in a more common sense. If there was either a story that was told to an individual of something happening, or something happened that was so traumatic that the brain shut on quicker, or forced the development of memory quicker, or allowed this one blip to happen, like that happens sometimes. That's why when people are like, "I remember what happened when I was 2 or 3, or like hell, even fucking in utero, or like fucking a day old," it's like, because my dad tried to hang himself, or whatever the case may be. It's like, yeah, that might have fucking happened.
Jeez. Michaela says, "I was told that like 6 or 7. Oh, that's brutal.
See? Bloop.
That might be something. Yeah, if you need help digging into that one, I'm sure we can definitely go over that one next week. Can I do this next week? Yeah, probably.
Wait, let me make sure.
Well, because
next week, but maybe not the week after that.
Yeah, the week after that is Thanksgiving. I'm not doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, bro. I need a break.
I'm gonna be drunk and full of potatoes and turkey, and cheese. Lots of cheese.
Sorry, I know this is in between family stuff. Real quick, my mom's gonna be at Thanksgiving this year.
Oh my goodness! Good luck.
That's gonna be so interesting.
I'm definitely not going over there now.
Oh, I
not the cheese, says Michaela. Yes, the cheese. I make mashed potatoes with like 3 pounds of cheese in it.
He does. You can make bricks out of them. This is not a joke or an understatement. I literally made a little brick.
We call it the colon clogger potatoes.
Yeah, they're no joke.
Yeah, that shit's like spackle. You can fucking plaster a wall with it. Yeah, it's hard to chisel it off the plates if you don't rinse it right away. It really is. You have to soak those bad boys for like a good day. All right, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I'm exhausted.
I get it.
I'll probably jump back in on Discord. I gotta ask you a few things after I end the stream, so like 5 minutes. Okay, thanks Michaela, thanks Combo, who's already gone, thanks Hey Shaker, who I believe is already gone also, and anybody else who stopped by that I'm not seeing or didn't see or forgot about. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you have any mental health questions, you can put it in the comments. I'm sure I'll be able to check them out and bring it into the next time we, come on here live. And Michaela, if you feel like you need to discuss this specific vivid memory situation, write down your thoughts over the next week and bring it in, and then maybe we can go over it. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, that should do it for us, Chatamaran. We will see you all later. Don't expect me to be streaming this weekend because I have a chair to fill and a book to bury my face into.
We saw.
So hopefully Tuesday we'll be back on the bike playing Zwift for our 60-minute ride. Yeah, that should do it. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Y'all be good. Drink water, take care of yourselves, and more importantly, just be kind.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye, chat. Bye.